researcher's note. Be a storyteller, an embellisher, a liar. They'll call you that and worse anyway. It hardly matters. The Tao, which can be perceived, is not the true Tao. Dr. Emmanuel Tagore, to the author. It has been 65 years since USS Sentry met IKV Divisor in the UFP's first known contact with the Klingon Empire. The final events of the story, which follows, took place some 40 years ago, some time back before we celebrated 10 years of Pax Organia, of which more in a moment. There are many who are convinced that the Klingon phase of Federation history is over. I first heard that phrase used in a lecture at the Macroperios. No one even smiled. So perhaps I may be excused a certain puzzlement at the curtains of silence that descended during the research for this work. UFP Klingon authorities were unavailable for extended periods, coinciding with my calls and visits. Official records of the dissolution babble are incomplete, containing little more than the "we kissed and made up" account found in children's books. Important persons have died or dropped from sight, neither rare events, but highly concentrated in this area. While my life was not threatened, my researcher's credentials and my computer's memory cores were. Only one person was willing to speak freely, and that one both warned me that his memory was fallible and gave me the advice quoted above. He was too modest about his memory, but his counsels were always wise. Thus, what follows is a novelist's reconstruction of events, rather than a history, let alone an exposé. It would be embarrassing to admit the size of the fee I lost from Insider Illustrated for not rewriting to their specifications. Sample specification. More details on Klingon torture, please. My defenses are fictional license and absence of malice. Perhaps if the Van Diemen papers were not under doublet regal classification, 2 steps higher than the Nova weapons research files, my tale would be different. I note in passing that I do not intend to disappear from public view in the immediate future. An old Italian proverb runs, Trattador, traitador. The translator is a traitor. And it is nowhere more true than when translating between races from different stars. Still, I have tried to speak as little treason as possible. For clarity's sake, certain Klingonasi technical terms have been translated as their Federation standard equivalents, thus warp drive, transporter, disruptor, instead of the more literal anti-curve rider, particle displacer, vibratory destructor, or most literally, the shake it till it falls apart tool. After usual practice, directly equivalent ranks and titles such as captain or lieutenant are given as such, while specifically Klingon titles are translated directly. Specialist, force leader, or by convention, thought admiral, examiner. The translation of Cuvée as servitor may raise eyebrows, especially among my Vulcan readers, but it is a growing belief among experts on the Comorex Klingon, or at least it was, that the usual translation as slave is not only inaccurate, but inflammatory. Much as the phrases centaurian lover or filthy gibelline of Earth's past. Anticipating another Vulcan response, I am not a geneticist, and I have documentation that the practice of Tharavel still exists. This book would not have been possible without the interest and frequent forbearance of 2 persons. Dr. Emmanuel Tagore's notes were indispensable, but no one more so than Dr. Tagore himself. The brief time I could spend with him was an education in culture and language, and not only Klingon culture and language. It was a it was Mimi Pantich, my editor, who first decided that the Federation was ready for this story, and then stayed on Earth while I bummed the warp routes to track it down. Finally, the work is about more than what may have happened 4 decades ago. It is the last Babel conference to be held on Earth's surface. Inevitably, I come back to Dr. Tagore. The Organian Peace Treaties. The Organian Peace is a piece of the biggest guns. It neither requires nor creates any understanding among the parties. In the absence of that understanding, the most that can be said about the Organian Treaty is that it works. For the present. Those were his last words to me before his death last year. I still wonder what he had seen that we have not. JMF SD 8303.24. Tempt not the stars, young man, thou canst not play with this verity of fate. In thy aspect I note a consequence of danger. From The Broken Heart.